Hi folks, welcome back to another video. Some of you like me may have had Asia's debut album, or even Yes's 90125 as your gateway into Yes's 1970s epic masterpieces. For me it was the Asia album in the summer of 1982. After repeated listens I started to research the back catalogue of the four individual band members. Picked up some of their recordings. Carl Palmer with ELP, it was Tarkus and Brain Salad Surgery. John Wetton and King Crimson, of course, was the iconic Red album. And not to be forgotten, Steve Howe and Jeff Downes was Yes's Drama. Backing up in the Yes catalog from Drama, I discovered that an older brother of mine had Close to the Edge and Relayer in the house, put them on the turntable, absorbed them in no time, loved them, and it wasn't long before I had a copy of Tales from Topographic Oceans in my possession, and it's been a favorite of mine ever since. If we go back to 1973, Yes was riding high. Close to the Edge, the album and tour, had done better than they'd ever performed before. The Yes Songs triple live album was hitting the charts, selling by the truckload, and the band were all scoring well in the Melody Maker polls as well. In many ways, I think you could consider Tales from Topographic Oceans to be the logical successor to Close to the Edge. John Anderson, as an avid reader, had based a lot of the themes from Close to the Edge on Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And as legend goes, John was at a wedding for Bill Bruford in early 1973 when he was introduced to Jamie Muir, percussionist for King Crimson. And apparently, after mentioning to Jamie that he was looking for a new long-form concept to base the next Yes album on, Muir ran into another room, brought back a copy of a brand new book, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And by the way, if you're thinking that Yogananda looks familiar, I can almost guarantee it that you've seen him before, if not multiple times. On the cover of the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, his face appears in the upper right-hand corner, just below Bob Dylan. While on tour in Japan in early '73, following Bill Bruford's wedding, John happened to be reading through the book when he came across a specific footnote that referred to four bodies of Hindu texts known as Shastras, and he used these as the basis of the four sides for Tales from Topographic Oceans. Those, of course, were the revealing signs of God, the remembering, the ancient, and ritual. And while originally John's concept alone, he would eventually bring Steve Howe in on the creative process, and over the course of the 1973 American tour, the two men would map out in great detail the four sides, the four movements. And apparently it all culminated in Savannah, Georgia after one late-night writing session that left the two of them feeling quite euphoric for days due to the sheer amount of creativity. However, the studio sessions that followed and the tour would eventually lay the foundation for Rick Wakeman's departure from the band. During the recording, Rick made it very clear that he thought there was a lot of padding going on, that there was not enough material in the four songs to fill out all four sides of the album. And he showed his displeasure by literally walking next door. In Morgan Studios in London at the time, Black Sabbath happened to be right next door to Yes recording their Sabbath and Bloody Sabbath album, and Rick offered his services as a studio musician. But to his credit, over the years, Rick has owned up to the fact that he didn't handle the situation quite as well as he should have. Ironically, despite Wakeman's comments over the years, as many observers and fans have noticed, there's a lot of fantastic Wakeman moments on this album. If he's not blowing us away with his soloing, he's setting a mood or providing a gorgeous landscape for the songs, which benefits the entire project, so I think he's got a lot to be proud of here. Before long, Yes was back on the road. In fact, the band went out on tour in the UK in late '73, playing not only Tales, but also all of Close to the Edge in their entirety, so you can imagine being in the concert audience for those shows back then. However, as time went on, depending on the city and the market, quite often a side would be removed and the set list would change from night to night. But generally speaking, fans were treated to a large portion of the album throughout the entire tour. But despite all of the issues, Tales was Yes's first album to achieve gold status on its initial shipment. They also sold out 2 consecutive nights at Madison Square Gardens in New York on the tour in 1974, and that was their first time ever playing that iconic venue. I should also mention that in addition to the set containing the remastered album in multiple formats, single edits, studio recordings of the songs in progress, and some newly unearthed live recordings from Steve Howe's archives, which we will discuss when we get into the unboxing. The extensive sleeve notes included from Syd Schwartz go deep into the creative process behind the album's production. I found them quite interesting and revealing. And now, before we get to the unboxing, I just wanted to say that for an album that failed to impress a lot of critics and fans back in the day, despite all of the naysayers, we are still here 52 years plus later discussing this fantastic box set and an album that broke down all kinds of barriers and proved once and for all that yes, we're the greatest progressive rock band of all time. I think that tells us everything that we need to know. So sit back and relax, and we'll take a peek inside the box. And as always, it's great to see you. And here we have the long-awaited Tales from Topographic Oceans Super Deluxe Edition. Sometimes I just like to sit in awe of Roger Dean's phenomenal artwork. Some of you no doubt are aware the original shrink wrap comes with a hype sticker in the corner. So here it is. Let's take a quick look at the spine. And of course on the back we have the remainder of Roger's amazing cover artwork. Under the shrink wrap here was a sheet advertising the contents of the box set. Here it is, and it goes into great detail with an asterisk notification for what constitutes previously unreleased material. So let's flip it over and get into it, shall we? As we open the box, first up on the left is the Blu-ray, which I will set aside for a few moments. We also have a lovely 16-page booklet. But let's start with the first piece of vinyl, thankfully in a polyline sleeve. Side 1 is of course the Revealing Science of God, Side 2 is the Remembering. All of the vinyl is remastered from the original recordings. And every time I see Eddie Offord's name, I'm reminded of the story where upon leaving the studio one day, he momentarily placed the album's master tapes on the roof of his car, forgot about them and drove off. The tapes fell off in transit but were rescued before they were trampled by a passing double-decker bus. Next up we have the booklet. Each time I'd open up the Tales double LP gatefold, I'd find myself just sitting for a while admiring the lyrics and the graphics, so it's nice to be able to do that with this insert. Inside are the extensive sleeve notes from Syd Schwartz. For those who are interested, Schwartz has a fantastic Substack post going into great detail on the research behind the newly unearthed live material from Steve Howe's archives. I'll put a link to the article in the video description. Of course, we also have some excellent studio and live shots from the era. And as you would expect, the last few pages have a complete listing of the contents of the box. The Blu-ray contains all of the new 2026 mixes of the album. Now on to the CDs. Disc 1 is the first half of the album Remastered. Rick's brilliant solo work near the end of The Revealing Science of God is one of my all-time favorite Wakeman moments. Chris and Alan put on a rhythm section masterclass as well during the Relayer segment of the Remembering. There's no denying that some of Howe and Anderson's most beautiful work takes place during the Leaves of Green section of Disc 2's The Ancient. It's Pure Yes magic. The next 4 CDs contain Steven Wilson's 2026 remixes of the album. First 2 discs are the album itself, the second 2 discs are instrumental mixes. What are referred to as the rarities are up next. Discs 7, 8, and 9 contain the single mixes and unreleased studio recordings of several songs in progress. On to the live material. The newly discovered Manchester material from November '73 was, I think, about the 12th show of the tour. The Remembering contains a nice extended solo section from Rick Wakeman. I should point out that while most of these live songs are complete, a few are unfortunately missing anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. But generally speaking, for 52-year-old recordings that have been sitting in storage all this time, they are very listenable. But I should make it clear I'm no expert in the quality of such recordings. Basically, if you're familiar with the quality of Ritual from Switzerland from the earlier release, then you have an idea of what to expect. Last up, of course, is the second LP, containing the remastered versions of The Ancient and Ritual. So there you have it, folks. The super deluxe edition of Yes's Tales from Topographic Oceans. Let's take a look at the full cover. Roger Dean's brilliant masterwork. Thanks as always for checking out my video, and please do consider subscribing. And we hope to see you again soon. Take care, folks.